All right, so that's me, Eugene Sky. And okay. My presentation went. All right, next slide. Okay, so yeah, it's clicking. I am Dev at Hero Devs. This is my Twitter, eSkyDev, Kendo UI, and talking about custom versus ready to use controls. I think every time I talk about controls, I end up talking about this, and I'm really interested. What do you fellas think? So where to start? I often think of the screens that we're building, the applications. There are a lot of comparison with construction, right? Like for controls, I think the easiest comparison would be a room. We need to finish it, and we need a light. So when we came up with something like that, right? We just pick it in the store, plug it in, sweet, easy, all done. Other things done the same day. Or like when we're fixing the lights and we want a light for the room, we came up with something custom, like this. Now go code this, right? Different time, and if our requirement is to deliver this specifically, it's just gonna be, it's gonna take more time, it's gonna be more expensive, and all that. So on controls, so first thing, we come up to where to place the decision of like what library of controls we're going to use for our application. So we first we got the idea of the application, right? We got the budget, everybody likes it, and I've been in a few projects where the project is already started, and so of course some of the tooling decisions were made, what's for the server, what's for the front end, but the controls are like missed. We're going to do something, and we starting to get the requirements, what I showed before, like something really custom, and those requirements and those screens could be already they could be already promised to the business, and now you're starting to you can start customizing the custom controls. So that's like the worst feeling that I have. Like when there is an API for it, great, but customizing custom controls it happened with me, I think a couple times. I heard other stories. So, and I think why it happened is because like library of controls decisions, it was missed before the project was started. Like a few months the project was on, business was doing all these flows here, promised it to the customer look and feel, and now like you can deliver the same functionality, but let's say like look and feel and some of the layout can be different, and especially on the controls that you use. I'm going to present grid today, so grid can look differently here or there, and if we like this, all these diagrams would start having library of controls in mind, and also for the business to go, we talked about managers today. So if we like coding team managers, and then we deliver to our customers, right? So if our managers work with us and those people that write the requirements, they take their mockups from here, from library of controls, not reinventing them, right? Then look and feel is going to be closer, expectations are going to be closer, and overall, the delivery speed is going to increase. It's going to be delivered faster per expectation, and we're not going to get into customization of custom controls. Like, I think every time that becomes a requirement, that we need to customize custom controls. Probably we can like overlook and get rid of the library overall, because that's different discussions that I had. Okay, so And I think, so again, the point I'm trying to make is the idea of the app. We start, and the library of controls has to be decided before the mux of the screens. Then the chunks of these diagrams we can overuse, and versus writing piece by piece, it can be already there in library of controls. Or while working with library of controls, a lot of business cases were solved already. And just looking at those solutions, it can help also business to mark those screens, and then for us, for people who's gonna actually code, it's gonna be plug and play, and right. So idea, library of controls, then mocking. Okay, and that should keep things simpler. That's it on presentation, and I'm gonna do the coding now, right? So I'm gonna present the Kendo grid. So let me start. All right. So let's start. I'm Angular guy, so Kendo UI that I'm presenting. So of course Kendo UI for Angular, React, Vue. So you just go there. So I think they have a library for everything. So ng-new Kendo grid. This is gonna start our application, Angular application. Okay, so one of the warnings that lately, do we want a stricter type checking? So we have time, we can talk about that as well a little. Stricter type checking is actually gonna cause some issues that I didn't have a year before, but here Angular is being smart on checking your types inside of the templates, instead of HTML. So when you property bind, your expression in single in double quote in the quotes, it just actually becomes a JavaScript expression, and you can strict type. You can check those types strictly. So we're gonna use that. Would you like to add routing? So we're also gonna do that. What is it asking about? Is like what it's gonna do is gonna add a routing module separate. So a few words on modules. So it's our containers for the components that we're gonna create. It's compilation unit, so our application, it's best practice to have a root module is only your starting point as a shell, and then feature modules you're gonna add right per feature. We will have like product feature in our demo. And it's good practice to have a routing module per feature module, one-to-one. Optional, but best practice, right? So we're gonna use that. And it asks us about the styles. So says, I always use says. And now we're installing. All right. I'm already over 10, right? All right.
Doing great. Doing great.
How do you fight those ums? I know I shouldn't, but I can't. All right. Installing packages, exciting.
So while we're waiting for that,
yeah.
You touched on it, and when your npm packages are done, we can just circle back to this question. But I do want to come back to, when you mentioned like sometimes all of a sudden your custom component, or I'm sorry, your kind of ready-made component needs to be customized. Yeah, that's certainly something that I've run into a bunch of times. But we can come back to that now that your repository is ready.
I'm fine with it. And actually, I think that would be a good point after presentation, if there are any questions before I start.
Yeah, we can wait. no problem. I just
so
wanted
it's up to you. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Like overall, if you have a good example, like I'm also very interested when you think it was worth it, right? You had some controls, because this is the experience that I have. These control libraries, this is what they do. They do controls. So they know these business cases. We probably will have time today. We can browse through that Kendo UI documentation. A lot of examples. And in my experience, like when there was a request, it often was like dismissed. I would say like, we will look, there is that in documentation. We just couldn't use that. And it would solve it. Maybe not like point to point, not pixel to pixel, not line to line, but this is the functional requirement that you have, and it looks good. It looks good. It's nothing like, it's not, when you're comparing to Max and that can, for example, any library implementation, I'm talking about Kendo, it looks good. So we could just plug that. But then the argument is that no, it's already promised. It's shut down, right? So we promised the screen, it's gonna look exactly like it, and probably there were some discussions to that, and it went back and forth, and they cannot go back and change it. And I think if they would start mocking using that library, that would not be an issue, and then it would be just a breeze. So that's kind of, and again, if you have a good story about it and people are happy, because then it takes additional time to make it look exactly right. So then probably let's not, why we're even like using them some library. Let's just do everything custom, like if it's what we need, right? So we're gonna, because sometimes customizing custom solution is already harder than go and just use it.
Yeah. So I've definitely run into that where we started customizing a control that was already, from a library or whatever, and we got so far that it was like, okay, we just need to write our own version of this. It didn't mean throw out the entire library, but maybe a specific component in that library. We outgrew it, or it just no longer suited our needs, or, we were never going to like comfortably bend it to our will.
Yeah, I hear you. So, that's definitely, and that's definitely an option, like, right? Like for this screen, let's just write our own, and we can use that library for the rest. Yeah. Right. Okay, so after our Angular application started, we just need to go into that folder that's installed and do ng serve and open it. So this is exciting stuff. Okay, I can share analytics with Google Team. I'm fine. Okay, and that's my mistake. I'm sorry. So it's ng serve. I'm trying another new here. So ng serve open. I usually do NGS, so just to. And that dash open is gonna open a browser for us. It's gonna go compile the bundle. Okay, that's a starting point. So there are a lot of useful links I think you can use, right? So I'm just gonna leave this rocket with clouds because I like it. We'll go to, so we're here, and let's start editing. Okay, components. So Control P to find your files faster. This brings it, right? Control P, and so any Angular app has entry module entry component. So this is our app component. So we're gonna delete this. Can delete this. Can delete including footer. Okay, here. Okay, I did it. All right, so let me see my browser. I'm gonna check that it's behaving, and I'll also serve it, ng serve again. So autocode autosave. Right, compiled successfully. Wow, okay, it picked up. I deleted the markup. We installed the packages, npm. We're presenting Kendo Grid finally. See, I'm doing good on time. So we're going to Kendo UI for Angular Grid. Extensive documentation, a lot of examples. So on getting started here, we can pick up the ng add, and we'll need to stop it and do ng add Kendo Angular Grid. So that's gonna install Kendo Grid. Okay, so changes so far. Okay. Okay, it's installing. So while it's installing, we'll use. We can talk a little about documentation, maybe. Oh, and I can do that. So I will use that. So a lot of examples. So I'm going to use filtering. We can, again, for the business person, right? They can come in here and say, oh, I want this feature. It can sort, great. It can page. There is only one, because there is a filter, right? There is filter by default. I can clear the filter. I can sort it. So the filters are like that. I want something less than 50, let's say, on less than 50. So one product filtered, if it's, and now on the markup, they pick up this style. There are default different themes: Bootstrap, Material, Default. Yeah, there are three. So we decide on the theme, and then just take it, and then expectation for the customer is going to be exactly that. They're not going to look at something they didn't expect and say, yeah, we said we wanted this. We didn't want to. Okay, idea is simple, but like lines or something that is actually can be trouble to customize. Some of the things there are APIs and they're easy, and most of stuff is easy. But if the business person for the screen uses this, the chances of that custom control it decreases. It decreases. So we're going to use that. It should be installed. It's installed by now. So we can check our grid module. So CLI is good enough to put the module in. So it's installed it in package JSON, right? So we should be good to use Kendo Grid, and when Angular finds Kendo Grid in a markup, it's gonna know what to do with it. So now I think not bad and pretty much nothing custom to code, right? It can sort, it can filter, and there are other examples like on grouping. They can browse through here, for example, and it's going to be another example. So whatever customs they need, we can make two groupings and all sources here. Just to do it custom from scratch, it's going to require some time, especially, for example, this grouping feature. All right, let's go to our filtering and get the source. So Angular components are, when generated by default, generates 4 files: HTML markup, TypeScript file, styles, CSS as we chose, and test files. So let's start getting the markup. And go to our app component. It is running. So we'll insert it before the clouds here. This was SVG clouds. And now TypeScript. So here's a TypeScript for it. So an example, they're in one file. I do then, so common convention is to keep the HTML and TypeScript separate in Angular. Component yes, and we're gonna insert it here. So we miss some imports. Control dot. So those packages were installed. We just get into imports. There's no suggestion for process. In documentation, it says that, I mean, I personally went to documentation for stuff like this. When there is no suggestion, it's right there. We can see that's coming from Kendo data query. Then sample products also, for example, they're coming, dummy data is coming from TypeScript file. So we're gonna put this file in here. All right. And I'm gonna copy it from documentation as well. So it's all right here. Copy. Oh. All right. Okay, let's see how many errors we have now. Oh, we're on it. Okay, and we need, let's ng serve it. Okay, Kendo grid here. All right. All right. Okay, so let's see what's picked up, what's not, and what errors we have. Okay, can see red so far. Okay. Okay, so actually this is strict. Okay. Okay, so I think I've seen this errors. I'm gonna fix those. Oh no, sample products. Yeah, I didn't import that. Let's first take care of that. Okay, here. Now we have this file that we just created with dummy data, and it's gonna come up from here. So now it's successful. Okay, and there is another red. Let's see what else. Add components, templates, agreed. Okay, that's width. Okay, and it's not gonna. Okay, let's see what exactly the error is. It doesn't say it. Okay, but let's do, I guess, one by one here. That was not here like years back when I used it, and let's say like even a few months back. Usually that's one thing I liked about Kendo, and the point I'm making here You just copy paste code to start, good starting point, and then you customize per library, right? You got this function, got that function, but it's a good start, and then it's easy to build on. Here, it's complaining about width, right? About width. So here I have to use property binding, and I probably should contact Kendo on that, right? Because we're using the documentation and doesn't work from the start, and usually that was not the point. But the fix for that is to use the property binding, and let's go there where we have that filter. Control-Shift-F. And here it is. So there are going to be a couple issues, width, and then there's going to be a second one. Okay, so I'm going to use width here and replace it with square brackets property binding. And let's find it. Okay, here, let's replace here and here and here. Okay, and I don't want it there. So I'll do it here. Okay, so that should take care of the width error. Now, next error is, and probably this error was easier. It was complaining about the string and number, right? Let me just put it again, so we'll get the width error, because that composite filter descriptor undefined is not assignable to type composite filter. So it just not compiling and complaining about type mismatch. Type mismatch. And another thing, by the way, to fix it, I think I can find. I went like straight ahead here. But if we go to Angular compiler, it's in tsconfig, I think. Yeah, it's in tsconfig. Let me go to tsconfig, and it's here. Strict template check. Strict templates. So compiler checks the types and templates strictly, and if I do false, that's actually will take care of this error, and it will let us run it, and it should compile successfully. We'll fix it anyway, one or the other way. It's not picking up. What? Save, autosave is here. Let me do it over. So strict template false, ng serve. So remember when we started the application, this was the setting. We asked for it. And now we're paying the price for it. So strict type checking was not always in Angular, so it's a kind of a recent feature. So you see it compiled successfully. Let's see on the browser, did it pick up? Okay, so I already have the grid. So a few months back, that was it, right? Just this functionality, and we're ready to push to our repository and start testing it. For the new projects, I think not bad. And picking up the right scenario, right control, and here it is. So we can filter, it's all here, and let's get more. I'll add a few tweaks now to the grid. And then we're going to actually fix it and keep the strict type checking. So that has to do with the sample products. It just, again, there's nothing. As I spend time on it, like I know there are sample products with 10 products, and then there are products that have 77 records. So we can add as we want. And this sample products, Control F, let me go here. Okay, so it's Control F. Okay, and I'm gonna replace it with just products. Okay, replace. We should have 77 records now. There is a default filter. So this is what we have for filter. It's already here. This is how we filter, just this object. So if I delete that, there's going to be no default filter. And I have 77 records. All right. Why I still have sample products here? That's interesting. Maybe it's like how that let me close them. Okay. Now, but talking about managers, being the only JavaScript expert on the team, it's one thing, or if you're dealing with all hardcore front end, that's saying you can't do that, right? You can't. We were waiting for Ivy for so long to strict type check it, and now you're disabling this. You can't do that. This is what Angular is about. And where's that change? tsconfig. We're gonna keep it strict. And the way I came up to fix it, I showed the issue. There were two issues. One was with the width and property bind fixed. Okay, and will I have this error now that can show still sample products? I think I replaced them all. Where is sample products still?
I think you left one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here. Okay. So now it compiled. Alrighty. So now it compiled, and I have to undo that change to tsconfig compiled. You see, when I serve it, so I need to rerun it, and I'm gonna get that error because I think I did that already, so it's true. That was not picked up, so let's ng serve it, and we're gonna get errors now. It's gonna complain about string versus number. And another error about type checking. I think overall it's good, right? It just, again, stricter, more predictable code, probably less things to worry when going forward and all that. But one of the things is on the types that I'm going to show. For example, this type, composite filter descriptor undefined, is not assigned to type composite filter descriptor, right? It's only about undefined or composite filter descriptor. For like when we're writing our own module, it's easy to fix, and probably it's a good check overall. Like when we designed, when we wrote this module, so we thought it should be required or optional, and then we start consuming it. So overall, it's a good feature, right? And we can go back and modify that library, and we have control over it. In this case, though, so my point is like just consume the library, deliver fast, good, it's testable. They spend time testing it. I used custom. I was in a project with custom controls. Always were more bugs there, and then you spend time fixing the controls. So I never really saw the business happy about it. That you're fixing the control, right? So that's why I like to go and start changing the approach. I tried to do it on my end. It didn't really work for me. So, and there is an option, and it's known, when you want to opt out from the strict type checking. So Angular Style Guide recommends the following. I'm going to show it in a minute. So it composite, and I should have a one error on the width. Do I have it? Or you just need to believe me here. Let's check that I have the width in my. Interesting. Let me open it. So again, Control P. Okay, so that should error out. Width. Do we have width here? Okay, yeah. So there is an error. Type string is not assignable to type number. Property binding and again, we have to rerun it, right? But just maybe to prove the point here, for example, if we saw that error, we would see also this error, right? If like it would not fix it, it would complain about. So in terminal, Control F, Control V, and width 180. So the run, we can't find anything. On width 120, we have one. Width without brackets still. Oh, yeah, that's a note. I'm sorry. So I'm showing a lot here. I need to clean up the terminal. That's why it's just showing previous builds where I didn't apply it. Okay. So to save some time, right? I think I'm gonna opt out from a strict type checking. I'm consuming Kendo library. They wrote it the same way. Now I have errors. This is like my shortcut, right? So, let's go to filter here. So Style Guide recommends this, like if I remember correctly, like that. And then it's complaining about possible undefined here state, right? Having this any solves this thing, and there is no that has a solution to the errors that I had. So again, we can replace it. Okay, now we should have a green build with this. Let me see the width. Yeah. So we're going here. Open the terminal, shortcut or new terminal here, and Control C, and let's just serve it again. Okay, so all the errors here, right, from the browser. Okay, and it's working. Let's see again. So 77 products. Let's try to filter 50 here to be less than 50. So 70 products are less than 50. I want to look for a coffee. There is one record. Right. Clear filters, paging.
Is the works. Pagination of 5? I didn't see you put that in. Is that something you put in, or is that a default?
Yeah, that's the default. We're default, but they're different from samples to samples. I think overall it's usually 5, but here if the sample is with 10 products, we can change it. And another thing, that's easy, right? So it's right here. And a lot of stuff, most stuff is easy. Like most of requirements that come in, we wanted this little bit, this little bit. So there are, 10 or 15, right? I think that takes, on this screen, I think 10 better.
I'm just curious, do you know, like that terminology there in the state object of skip and take, are they using RxJS behind the scenes for this? I'm used to those terms being associated with RxJS.
You mean state? Okay, RxJS like state, like in terms of state management?
No, I just meant the the properties being called skip and take. It just reminded me of RxJS. I was wondering if they are using RxJS under the hood for the pagination, maybe. If you don't know, it's fine.
Not on top of the, yeah. Okay. I would need to like double check it. Good question. So because state here, it comes from Kendo data query. We would need to go there. Can we go there? Go to implementation. No, it's implementation. Let me see, like really quick, if we can. We can try and see maybe something there. What are the imports there? I'm interested now as well. So here, state. Can we go to definition? Not really. Okay. Yeah. Good question. All right. So where we were. So we changed it to 10, right? So it's a display on 10 now. Browsing, paging works. Ding, ding, ding. Nothing CD, coffee. So filtering works as well. This is the way to specify it. Contains, and also this out of the box, right? All this filtering is before, now, on date, greater or less. You have all this contains, does not contain. Now, do we again? That could be also a markup. No, we want a search box here. We want a list. We want a pagination separate. And if we don't look at that existing library of controls, this is the most standard markup we probably would get. And if you and then let's say all they want is functionality, right? This was it. We all saw it, how fast it was, how fast it can be done. We got filtering, we got paging, we got all this going. Functionality is delivered. But now, like, customer was expecting, or they don't even want to go to customer, right? The business, it's already promised, it's done. Everybody's time is expensive, so we're not getting back to this. Now, okay, yeah, we want a grid, but now we want a search box for it because we promised it. Yeah, we can do it. Or in some cases, like, if are you okay with that? They would say, probably if it was initial meeting, they would say, yeah, it's going to work for us. It's going to filter. That's fine. This is it. Delivered. Okay. Now, so we did that. This is working. One of the things we could do, another thing. So Kendo grid, where is our Kendo grid here? All right, so we just put it all in the markup. We put it all in the markup here. We got root component and then markup of a Kendo grid. So Angular is all about the blocks, right? So of course, something like nested component, we could do that. And I'm over my time, but the question is, like, we can add a Angular module and feature module now, and we could put Angular component inside that Kendo grid, and then we would instead of all these lines here, right, Kendo grid, and whatever your grid can end up being. We've seen the grids, right? Actual production grids. It would look something like this, right? A product list like that, and we could extract all this markup into Kendo grid, into this nested component. It's gonna take a few minutes more than 5. So I wonder if we want to stop here, or do we want to do an Angular feature module and generate component there and move the contents there? So what do you think?
So I think I think you don't have to go down that path.
All right.
But I do think I'd love to kind of explore the grid itself a little more. One thing I was curious about is the unit price column, where, like, I see you have a format on the Kendo grid column, but I'm wondering how does it know it's a currency? How does it know to put the dollar sign there?
Wow, so thank you for helping me. Because it has format, right? It's all here.
So that format is currency?
Oh, unit price. Here's the currency. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. So that format right there, adds the dollar sign, limits it to 2 decimal points, or to
that should be okay. So we can try to do right now. Like, let's see what it looks like, and probably So this is default. I think we can find, if you want something else, we can try and modify it now. Should be not an issue. Well, like, how do we want to change it?
Sure. Like, what if chai was 18.9999 instead of 18? Would it show?
Yeah.
Does that? I mean,
I think so. Let's. So we have that is should not be.
Yeah.
All right. So let's find it and change it. Oh.
It's probably just 18. Probably, I'm guessing it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. So we need column 2, I think, right? Is that column 2? Currency column 2. Let's check that. Yeah, you're right. If you look at documentation already, that's it. Okay. No. All right. Not from top of my head, but it should be.
Well, okay, so if you go to your sample products, that has your unit prices in it, right?
I'm surprised I didn't find it. Okay, so
it probably doesn't have the dollar sign.
That's 18.
Right. Find a lot of 18.
Yes, that's right. And let's find chai at 18.
Right there.
So unit price product. Okay, chai right there. So this is what it has. This is how it formats it. Let's do that 99 something, right, and see what it ends up with. Okay, and we change that format. Let's undo my wonderful change there. App component. Okay, one more. Save it. Auto save.
I rounded it.
That was not that. That didn't look like before, right?
Oh, no, you're right. Okay, there you go. But it's still rounded it.
It's rounding. Yeah. So, but okay. Look, but this is not. This is weird. Look, 21.35.
Well, maybe it's rounding to the nearest 5 cents.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh. You're right. You're right again. Okay. So let's do it. Not 99, but 73, right? Unit price chai and sample products. And we also have sample and products, by the way. So we don't need to. So let's do unit price this.
Wait, isn't that the one you changed before?
No, I don't think so. This is it. Because they have in this file sample products and then products. This is it. Yeah. So. Versus this, let's do 73. We said, right? Or something.
Yeah.
So and that should work. Yes.
Interesting.
73. Yeah.
But so, and my assumption is that you do have control over that logic somewhere. I know it's just doing formatting and sorting and everything, but if it was very important for you to have multiple decimals on that number and not have rounding, I'm sure that's something that could be adjusted.
Me too. Again, yeah. Yeah.
All right, I have one more that I'm very curious about with particular component. I'm curious how it sorts null values. So if you went back to that same product and got rid of its price, I'm assuming the product would still show up.
Let's do that.
But I'm curious if it by default puts it if you sort by that.
This is why you want to do that, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Is product ID one of the sortable columns?
No product ID, right? Okay, let's do price now. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happens to that. Boom. Okay, so it's okay. This is how. And Chai is still here. Yeah. Okay, first you see it gives us Chai first. It's still no.
Interesting.
All right. Okay, no sorting. Now sorting, extending. No, makes sense. Yeah. Look, so no sorting.
Taking it like a 0.
Yeah. No sorting. Ascending, descending. And I should have warnings, okay, because I didn't buy the license. 800 usual price per developer. I actually brought it to a few places. So last place I brought, but then with this pandemic, $449 a year per developer. Nice people overall. Also, when as long as you made the purchase, actually was. So when I initially wrote on, I think they didn't reply me from the first start, from the first email, but on the third, or when I read the third time, I wrote them, oh, I contacted you the third time. They contacted me, and then from there it was briefs. Also, that control overall, for example, the example in my case, I brought to the project with custom controls. Great developers, everything. They try to build out everything from scratch and everything. But here was the thing, I mean, you're building a product, there's gonna be bugs. Here, you have a bug in the control, who are you blaming? It's not you, it's them. So there, and overall, business was pretty happy to get that. I remember that feeling. You see, overall installation, and what I showed, right? NGF, the hookup was not bad at all. So hook it up to enterprise application went really smooth, and styles are better by default. It's tested. I had so I think 15 is last time when I saw I got into some known issues. It's just my case, but there was some known issues, and I just had to report it to business. This is how just Kendo behaves. Lately, I didn't run into them. Again, it depends on the size, on the project. I'm pretty sure you can break anything, but I mean they test it, and it's just my experience. Again, you mentioned the storybook. I am sharing that I had a good time with this one. So we can start separate discussion on AG grid, on other controls. But another thing, it's not like I'm only promoting Kendo. I used it, and in my work, it worked fine for me. But I think another important point, every time I talked about controls, is that you choose it. You kind of take it as your tooling, and you don't go to Max. And then those conversations that we mentioned, they don't happen. So business people can talk to customers, say, are you okay with that? And the problem, the chance of them saying, yeah, why not, is higher, rather than they promise them something else and they tell them, oh, can we just deliver that? That actually is doing the same thing. It's filters, it's pages, you can find them easily. So yeah. And we had databases with millions of records. I mean, it pulls. It's not only 77, right? It's not like one of the products that works fine only for demo apps. So it pulled the enterprise application, and there were no complaints on Kendo on the last one. So, and again, of course, I'm pretty sure maybe the size was not there, the team was not that big, and the product was. So there was actually at the most on the project were 30 people at some time, but with everything, it cut down to 5 developers. And especially another point with the controls, I think it's depends on your team. Like if you got somebody that is great with that did everything with Angular material that they could. Like they took that data table, for example, let's check the control. We can go to comparison maybe. For example, what I can see for Angular material data table and what it provides. It's there, it's working. It's not horribly longer. It's still like quick, but to me, Kendo is quicker. And more examples, right? So if you have somebody that is dedicated on front only and is always using some library that they use that they are comfortable with, I think that's the perfect one. And experience, I think, is golden, right? It's only the thing that you tried, you're comfortable with, you tested in other projects, that's the best. But if like the developers, you're doing everything, you're doing databases, you do some DevOps, you do this, you do that. For some team members, again, somebody is better with databases, somebody is better with JavaScript. So especially for that full stack, and when you wearing all the hats, it just takes all that issues away. And if there is any problem, you just contact Kendo. I guess it's not a selling point that I'm also trying to make. Okay, but I'm not selling Kendo. Okay, so yeah, I think again we can use we can add a module and component, but that's more over Angular thing rather than Kendo. I think I said it a few times. And I've seen it on not on single projects where the controls is something that is not that important that we're gonna do later everywhere. And I really saw the where the time and money were wasted just customizing those custom controls. Yeah, so that time was and then it's not happy times. Yeah. Rather than get the library and start your mux. Promise the screens after you know what library of controls you're using.
Sure. And it looks like you can experiment with this before you actually purchase it. So that's nice.
Yeah, 30 days, I think. And it can go longer. Honestly, when they come in, it can go longer. If, like you say, I need to try it. Overall, like after you purchase and start talking, good support, just communication is good. And on examples, you see the grids? There are that many examples. So here's the thing that was specifically, so I took a faster example, but I can say, like, for example, this was business was really happy with this feature. Like, if you're gonna do the same thing and do that source from here, that grouping, boom. Just imagine like you have custom controls. It's 3. You can do 3. So and you want to code this control. I don't know, like how long it's gonna take. And then after you deliver, most likely testing bugs. That was actually used, this grouping, like 2 groups by default, big grids, and on performance size, like when there were performance issues, they were not about Kendo. This was the server issues and like on the stuff like how the data is queried. So the grid pulled well, and it pulled a lot of records. We have databases with millions of records. I mean, good enough. No complaints there. And there were complaints on actually not exactly on controls because it was AngularJS application and still and part of it. So I was migrating it to Angular, and one of also the points there is amount of watchers, how the screens were designed, by the way, and getting back to the designs. So it was doing okay for most scenarios, and okay, the exact business was organizing conferences. So you organize conference, you need some equipment. But when it got into World Series of Poker conference, that is going like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going over a month. Like I've seen like it booked for over a month, right? And in this and in that my equipment. So amount of watchers on the browser, it grew up and was like 17,000 and start to choke. So, but that was on overall on design of the screen as well. And then having that in mind, not displaying everything, not bringing all data to the browser, that required something. I mean, data was there. And after we started to use the Kendo, I don't remember performance complaints specifically on that part. Just, I think we all heard that the AG grid is the best, right? I also, maybe I'm going to wrap up here, and also I'm really interested who's using what controls, or maybe like they wrote their great library that they have an awesome time with or something. But I think it's probably a good time for questions, and also I'd like to hear your stories, like what works for you.
You know, I was just looking through the Kendo UI website, and they have like a really impressive looking theme builder.
Right? Okay, yeah, that's...
Like, this looks like something designers would just love. It's very cool.
Again, like on resources, right, if you have, you can customize it, but when I started, like, what do you want to go? Like, so we got 3 options, because they won't have enough resources to customize things. So, and again, for business was, okay. Actually, I started default. We decided they wanted the bootstrap. I hate material. There was there, the quote. Somebody hated material. So, right. So, and look, that many options with example. Like if we have time, that's not going to take a lot of time. This is where I go to type. Okay, Angular material, data table. Boom. Okay, this is your example. Okay, there are controls, and you can build application. Fine. I mean, again, like basic scenarios that what I showed you, and actually there are enough screens that just serve this purpose. Like pagination, like here, separate. You just do it one by one. You add into that. Versus there, you just copy paste it, right? You found the example that you wanted. Remember how many features? Okay. So, and we can do again a screen split here, control window, and in here. Okay, in here, and that's not it. Okay, this one. Okay, so data table versus like grid, boom, ring. Export, yeah, it has that by default. Also, like export feature, you can do this grid and export PDF, and it's here. It's hooked up. It's built up for you. If somebody did data table, for example, with Angular material, also I'd like to know it. And also for now, imagine the business person come here. They look at something here. They look at this code. Nah, what do you like? You guys do that versus like here, right? This is where they start. It's very. I think it's like audience's business, and then you get to the source if you want to. The advantages, of course. So it's paid product, right? You need to buy a license. Versus, like again, it can be an option. We don't want to pay for controls, and it's also a good decision there at the start, right? If you can think of everything ahead, are we gonna do we have budget for controls, or like we're okay with anything? Pretty much, it's also It's gonna do its job. I think there is a filtering example. I think I saw it with, but not per table, not per column, right? We sort per column, and you have is equal to this, that. I'm pretty sure with the material, you would have to like write up and actually put all these controls, get the objects, read them. Now we're talking sometime coding. Okay, so it's definitely more than this. All right. Yeah. So anybody has favorite for controls library? Oh, not really.
So I'm actually a fan of something called semantic UI, but it's certainly not. It's probably more akin to something like Material. It's not aimed at enterprise. It's just very simple.
And you can bring it on, and then you start your custom coding.
Yeah, no, I've certainly had to extend it on my own. So, no, this is cool.
Yeah, a big thing we've dealt with has been like we've tried looking at big libraries. We've looked at Kendo, we looked at others, and then we'll have people do things like accessibility audits and things like that. And what we end up finding is that there's never a single library that has enough components that all kind of pass our requirements. So we always end up having to pick, from different ones, and that's been our biggest challenge. The customization is a whole other thing.
I agree. I agree. Same. Yeah.
Yeah, the daytime picker is exactly one of the examples. We can we've never found a good one.
Let's see. I think if I'm right, I think they did recently. Actually, it was not there, but I think I saw it.
It's not just date picker; it's date and time picker.
I think that's what I googled.
Okay.
Daytime picker. Okay. Look.
I think Material just came out with it, so they're.
You see, it's here.
Backing, yeah.
If I remember it right, in 19 it was not here, and we had to do date and time separate, and the warbox. All right, I fixed that. Here now, I didn't use it yet, but here it is. Right, so it's here. And if we dealt with this.
Can you tab through it? Can you navigate through it with a keyboard?
Let's see. I should. I am pretty sure.
The answer is no.
No. Yes. Look. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I did.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's fair enough.
Unless it's announcing the changes and doing all that stuff. I mean, I'm not an expert with accessibility. We have other guys that do that, and they know their stuff, so they're super picky. And this has been an issue. Pop-ups, modals, always a huge issue. Even just basic tooltip could be an issue. So we've ended up rolling our own in a lot of cases, which I hate. Like, I don't want to maintain more code. But sometimes that's the only way. Or the levels of customization you might get might not be what you need. Because a lot of this stuff looks great until you get this designer that tells you like, hey, it should look like this. And you're like, I can't do that. And so,
and like we're talking, for example, dialog, right? For a pop-up, again, that many options, right? Like it's giving you this. I mean, there are a lot of options. And okay, so there is one with an input, kind of. That's what it feels like. They know the business cases, there were requests for them, and they delivered it. So, okay, so in one of the things where it really caused the pain, I have to tell you, I was on the project. So again, we had that mock-up, like this, that, and was, and I had to write that custom thing. And I was not part of that design session where, again, that was promised at some point, different teams. Now let's go ahead and do it. And all this talk, it comes from the amount of pain, because I think if we talked about functionality first, and I'd be there. I would find some control that would deliver, versus that thing ended up weeks to months, right? Bugs, expected thing, polishing. So, and yeah, so versus, and I had to tell you, like, in few months, I kept calling for it, I kept following it, and business started to look for that. And the requirements became that. We see this control, go ahead, put that in. And now this becomes your delivery, right? You go here, view source, and they're okay with it. They kind of discuss all this. You see, is it going to be enough for you? Is it going to deliver what you want? So, and they start trying, right? So, and they were looking for, and again, so this is a dialogue. There are a lot of controls. Again, greed, right? We saw. Maybe basic is not enough, right? We're just getting started. There is that basic thing. No pagination here. They find something that has what they want, plus, for example, export, right? Also, right here, we can deliver you that. And then the stories, they start creating the stories based on what we're using. We, the guys who code, come here, get this wonderful source. It's working, everybody's happy. The team has a good account. Yeah, and yeah.
Cool. I think you passed the 10-minute mark.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Eugene. That was it was a lot about Angular in the beginning, but then you got to the grid.